Human Farms, the Dark Side of Synthetic Embryos. Welcome back to School of Soul. I'm Adeline Atlas, 11 times published author, and in today's episode, we're entering the territory that most people still think belongs in fiction. But fiction, as history has shown us, often arrives as prophecy. Today we're asking a question that feels extreme, but is increasingly relevant. Could the rise of synthetic embryos and artificial wombs open the door to human farming? Could we reach a point where human life is not created for family, love, or lineage, but for labor, research, or spare parts? Let's begin with the science. We already have the ability to create embryo-like structures without sperm or eggs. In recent years, stem cell-derived embryo models have been developed that begin forming organs, including heart tissue and neural folds. These aren't theoretical. They're real. Researchers in Israel, the UK, and China have successfully created these structures in vitro, and the technology is progressing rapidly. While none of these synthetic embryos have been implanted or carried to term, the direction of research is clear. More control, more precision, less reliance on traditional reproduction. Now combine that with artificial womb technology, which has been used to sustain premature animals for weeks in fluid-filled biochambers. These systems are designed to replicate the uterine environment with precise control over oxygen, temperature, nutrients, and development. It's not hard to imagine the two technologies merging. Synthetic embryos grown in synthetic wombs. This could have profound benefits for medicine. It might allow us to model development without using human subjects. It might help us test new therapies or prevent congenital disorders. But there's another application, one that's already been whispered about in fringe biotech conversations: growing humans for parts. That's not science fiction. It's a known ethical concern. There are real discussions happening right now about whether synthetic embryos, especially those made without traditional fertilization, should be granted the same moral or legal status as naturally conceived embryos. Some argue they are not real humans, just cell clusters. Others warn that this gray area could be exploited to justify the creation of human organisms with no rights, no citizenship, and no legal protection. Imagine a future facility, clean, efficient, robotic, where hundreds of synthetic embryos are grown in pods, not to be born, but to be harvested. One for organs, one for neural tissue, one for pharmaceutical testing, another engineered to grow skin or limbs. This kind of language already exists in agriculture, where animals are bred not to live full lives, but to supply parts. And when human development is detached from family and framed in purely clinical terms, the logic quietly shifts. Why wait for donors? Why risk rejection? Just grow what you need. The pressure to pursue this will come from all directions. Governments needing organ supply, military programs wanting resilient test subjects, pharmaceutical companies seeking faster clinical trials, even private individuals hoping to replace a failing organ or extend their life through tissue-compatible clones. Once the ethical line is blurred and the technology is available, the incentives begin to pile up. And here's where the term human farms stops sounding dramatic. Because when a life is created outside of natural origin, outside of relationship, outside of lineage, it becomes easier to reduce it to utility. A being without a mother, without a birthday, without a legal identity, what protections do they have? Who advocates for them? And if no one does, who stops the system from scaling? There are already patents filed for embryo storage technologies that describe batch processing techniques. There are companies quietly developing bioreactor environments that could, in theory, maintain hundreds of artificial gestations at once. These aren't black market operations. These are real labs, often backed by venture capital, exploring the next frontier in bioproductivity. And while most of the marketing speaks in terms of medicine and innovation, we must ask, what happens when the market shifts? Because if creating humans becomes cheap, fast, and easy, what's to stop us from using that power? Not just to heal, but to manufacture? Not just to study, but to supply? And it won't always look like horror. It'll look like progress, efficiency, optimization. The language will be clean and technical: tissue lines, cell models, bioutility assets. But behind that language could be thousands, maybe millions, of developing human lives treated as infrastructure. And here's the even more uncomfortable truth: the public might accept it. If the outcome is framed as necessary, curing disease, saving lives, creating solutions, the means will be justified. Especially if the beings being grown are never seen. If they're kept in chambers, labeled as pre-humans, denied rights, spoken of as data points, not individuals. Once life becomes invisible, it becomes ignorable. This is not fear-mongering. This is pattern recognition. Because we've done it before. We've labeled groups as subhuman. We've justified exploitation in the name of advancement. We've allowed systems to flourish in silence until the truth became undeniable. The only difference now is that the life being exploited won't cry, won't write, won't speak, because it was never meant to. And spiritually, this is perhaps the greatest fracture: to create life not to love, but to use. To engineer a body without intention, without welcome, without connection to spirit. That is the definition of desecration. So what do? We start asking now, before the rollout, before the announcements, before the normalization. We demand oversight. We demand public transparency. We demand ethical boundaries that center the soul, not the spreadsheet. And most of all, we refuse to let human life, however it begins, be reduced to function. Because when we do, we don't just farm the body, we starve the spirit, and that cost is too high, no matter what it buys us. Hi, I am Adeline Atlas, 11 times published author, and SOS, School of Soul has a brand new series, the AI and Future Technology series. Look, you know the world is changing, and no, it's not going back to normal. Normal is over, and what's coming next is beyond anything we were prepared for. The School of Soul, AI and Future Technology series includes 319 videos on 1. The Download Society, How Data Has Replaced Destiny. 2. Predictive Future, Your next moves aren't random, they're forecasted. 3. Social Credit Systems, The Behavioral Economy Now Governs Access. 4. Hive Mind, Synthetic Telepathy and Collective Algorithmic Control. 5. Nanobots Inside You, Medical, Military, and Programmable Intrusions. 6. Grief Tech, AI-fueled digital resurrection and simulated comfort. 7. Uploading Your Mind, Consciousness Transfer and Data-Based Identity. 8. Deep Fakes plus AI Clones, The Replication of Reality and Identity Theft. 9. Quantum Humans, The Merger of Biology with Quantum Systems. 10. Digital Afterlife, Where Your Data Goes When You Die. 11. Resurrection Science, Reviving Life Through Synthetic Methods. 12. Immortal Science, The End of Death as We Know It. 13. Longevity Science, Gene Editing, Anti-Aging, and Bio-Upgrades. 14. Designer Babies, Engineered Perfection Before Birth. 15. Artificial Wombs, Birth Decoupled from the Female Body. 16. 3D Printing, Printing Organs, Limbs, and even humans. 17. The Humanoid Era, The Rise of Synthetic Beings Among Us. 18. Legacy Humans, The Slow Phase-Out of Unmodified Analog People. 19. Smart Cities, Algorithmic Environments That Watch and Decide. 20. Cloud-Based Societies, Citizenship Without Borders or Bodies. 21. Hackable Humans, Emotion, Memory, and Behavior Under Code. 22. Biometric Scanning, Your Body is Your Password and Your Prison. 23. Sex Tech, Intimacy Reprogrammed by Machines. 24. Extinction of Gender, Fluidity, Deletion, and Design of Identity. Every topic is fully explored with real-world technologies, patents, case studies, ethical analysis, and future forecasts. These aren't someday discussions. This is already happening. Join the SOS School of Soul Vault to overstand the future before it's implemented on you.